Now that the season is over, it's award season. We're looking at some of the guys that may win some of the postseason awards. We know MVP was very close between Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees, but Defensive Player of the Year may be even closer. There's a bunch of candidates. No one really separated themselves as the guy, and really could be one of many guys that win it.
Yeah, I mean, I really think you focus on the front seven this year. There wasn't a defensive back who really kind of stood out this season. And here are three names that I think you have to look at first. First is Terrell Suggs in Baltimore. Use him as a chess piece, lined up in a lot of different spots, was outstanding rushing the passer, but I thought become more of an all-around player. And Justin Smith, I mean, maybe the stats don't stack up with some of the big guys, but out in San Francisco, they'll tell you how valuable he is in that 3-4 defense. The third guy, and I think he runs third because of the Giants' overall ranking defensively, is Jason Pierre-Paul. He was just so good individually with so many injuries around him. He was the best pass rusher on that team.
And I had Justin Tuck as my preseason Defensive Player of the Year. He was hurt and barely even played, but JPP stepped up. Just his second year, you started to see all those skills really come through, and he really dominated in a lot of areas. But there's other guys you also have to consider. Jared Allen nearly set the sack record in Minnesota. I mean, DeMarcus Ware nearly 20 sacks again. I mean, how do you leave these guys out, and where do they compare to the guys you already mentioned?
You know, it's interesting. Ware, I mean, 19.5 sacks. It was a very quiet 19.5 sacks, and I remember a conversation I had with him. It's amazing to think about it, but he says after every game he looks at the pressures he creates. And I think there were plenty of sacks, as the total suggests, but I don't think there was enough consistent pressure. A lot of penalties that he committed this year, was playing hurt with that neck, so I don't think BABIN, and even Jared Allen stacked up as far as the overall play.
Yeah, you mentioned the overall play and how it was with Terrell Suggs, that he really kind of stepped up and did those things. You look at the numbers, 7 forced fumbles for Suggs this year. I mean, Jason Pierre-Paul, he had 86 tackles as a defensive lineman. It just seems like it's an outrageous number. And like you mentioned, though, also, the non-pass rush guys that usually we see in these categories, the Ray Lewises, the Troy Polomalus, either due to injury or just ineffectiveness, just weren't as many this year as candidates.
Yeah, Patrick Willis was kind of negated by Navarro Bowman, his teammate. He missed a few games at the end of the season, too. So those big tackle collectors, those big DBs, Darrelle Revis, like you mentioned, didn't have his greatest season. Woodson, Ed Reed, we're just not seeing them this year as being the dominant defenders.
So who's your pick?
I got to go with Terrell Suggs. I just think he's been the Ravens' best all-around defender this year. I mean, on a team with Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, it's saying something. But as a run stopper, as a pass rusher, and as a pass defender, 2 interceptions, I think he's been their best player this year.
It's hard to imagine how long this defense has been good in Baltimore. They just keep coming up with new players. Now, Suggs is turn to win Defensive Player of the Year. That's our pick for the Defensive Player of the Year. For all of the awards, keep checking back to ProFootballWeekly.com.
It's never too early to start thinking about the NFL Draft, and Pro Football Weekly's new draft database has you covered. Check out updated player rankings for over 750 prospects and our exclusive PFW Stock Watch. Just go to the Draft tab at ProFootballWeekly.com.